These reservation systems can be something like Airbnb, Booking.com, or maybe Book My Show, IRCTC. Why optimistic locking is better? What is pessimistic locking? What are the pros and cons of pessimistic locking? What is distributed locking? How you can actually implement all of these? How you will actually set up the database around it? Payment systems are definitely one of the most notorious systems to actually build, who are actually trying to pay each other. How exactly the payments are going to actually work? How can you do distributed transactions? Are you going to use two-phase commits, or are you going to use Saga? If you're using Saga pattern, then are you going to use orchestration based Saga or choreography based Saga? There is a good scope of schema designs and database design. Can you actually make your system in a way that read queries, if let's say your system is read heavy, then read heavy systems or the read heavy queries are handled by a different set of databases and the write queries are handled by a different set of databases. They are going to teach you a lot of things around the fundamentals of Spring Boot as well. Like if you're learning Spring Boot and you want to get more hands-on around the annotations and the overall aspect oriented programming aspect of I would say Spring Boot, these two projects are a no-brainer and you should definitely try it out. Before moving forward, I would like to tell you about our brand new offering at AlgoCamp around the advanced Spring Boot backend development cohort. So we were getting a lot of requests to actually launch our next iteration of the Spring Boot cohort, and here we are. This one is far more bigger and better than the last one, and trust me, if you are somebody who is looking to start their journey in the world of Spring Boot in the backend ecosystem, or maybe you already know some things about backend development, maybe in Spring Boot or maybe in some other tech stack, this is going to be a one-stop solution for you. We are going to talk about everything from the absolute beginner level to the advanced level in Spring Boot. We are going to talk about how exactly you can set up your backend ecosystem and backend projects in Spring Boot. We are going to take a microservice-driven architecture and build different projects, including an Uber app, including Airbnb app, payment wallet like Paytm wallet app, and many more. We are going to talk about how exactly microservices can actually communicate with each other in synchronous and asynchronous fashion. We are going to see a lot of interesting microservices pattern like CQRS pattern, Saga pattern for distributed transaction, how you can implement Saga pattern through orchestration and choreography, how Saga pattern is going to help you with respect to the implementation if you compare that with two-phase commit, how you can implement each one of them, what is the outbox pattern, how exactly event sourcing is going to work, how you can integrate Kafka for your event sourcing, and whatnot. We are going to see so many interesting database concepts like how exactly NoSQLs are internally implemented using LSM trees, what are write-ahead logs, how you can replicate your databases, how you can shard your databases, how you can design a good database schema, and whatnot. All the topics that we are going to cover must be listed in front of you on the screen here. What I can say is that this course is going to be one-stop solution to become an advanced backend engineer in Spring Boot. This is definitely going to demand some good time commitment from all the students who are interested, but trust me, this is going to be one hell of a ride. So what are you waiting for? Do check out the link in the description section below and read the complete end-to-end syllabus of what we are going to cover in the Spring Boot cohort. You can actually use the coupon SPRING2025 to get maximum possible discount on the course, and I'm really excited to see you guys in the cohort. Right, do check out the link description section below, and let's get back to the video. Now you already know about what Spring Boot is, and maybe you have already spent hours in learning Spring Boot and how you can actually develop backend projects in Spring Boot. But do you actually know that what can be some great and impactful project ideas that are going to outshine in your resume? Or have you actually tried your hands on using Spring Boot with some actual real life engineering problems? If that's the case, that you're still confused on what can be some good impactful projects and some really good engineering problems to solve, then don't go anywhere else. This is going to be a one-stop solution video for you. In this particular video, I'm going to talk about that if you're somebody who already has knowledge about Spring Boot or maybe something else like any other backend stack as well, and you want to actually make some really interesting projects which helps you to learn a lot of things and look extremely good in your resume, then you are at the right place. Also, just for a context, all of these projects that I'm talking about in this particular video are going to be already covered in our new advanced Spring Boot backend development live batch. In this particular cohort, you are going to get end-to-end from beginner to the advanced level, all the learning required to become a pro in Spring Boot. We are going to cover different projects that I'm going to talk about in this particular video as well. And we are going to see that how you can actually solve some real life engineering problem with the power of Spring Boot. So if you want to get more details around it, do check out the link in the description section below, and you can use the coupon code coming up on your screen to get maximum discount possible. We are going to cover some really advanced topics, including distributed transactions through Saga pattern, two-phase commits. We are going to talk about patterns like CQRS pattern, outbox pattern. We are going to see how you can make actually microservices driven project and whatnot. All of the details about the course you will be able to get in the description section below. Do check it out. And without any further ado, let's just start and let's straightforward dive into all the important projects that I definitely believe you should build in order to learn Spring Boot in a much more depth. Now, I believe if you're somebody who is learning backend development, then definitely you should try to build some kind of a reservation system. These reservation systems can be something like Airbnb, Booking.com, or maybe Book My Show, IRCTC, or any similar kind of a reservation system. All of these reservation systems have some really interesting problems to solve. For example, in reservation systems, you have an interesting problem of concurrency, that what if two or more than two people are trying to access the same resource? How you can actually handle that? To understand these reservation system, you should have good deep knowledge of databases along with concepts like locking. For example, how you can apply optimistic locking. Why optimistic locking is better? What is pessimistic locking? What are the pros and cons of pessimistic locking? What is distributed locking? How you can actually implement all of these? Like, knowing all of these theoretically and actually knowing how to implement all of this is the actually game changer. And these reservation systems are going to teach all of these things to you in great detail. Apart from that, the best part about reservation system is that the database design aspect is going to be very tricky in these reservation system. For example, just think about it. Let's say if you are building something like Booking.com, or you are working as an engineer at Booking.com. If you have to build a feature where, let's say, there is a hotel and there are different category of rooms, but those category of rooms are available for booking from now to, let's say, next 120 days. How you will actually set up the database around it, right? For example, let's say there is more than one, I would say, frequency of a type of a room and have different availabilities. How will you handle that? How will you handle range-based booking? Like a user can book for 1 day or maybe 6 days or 3 days and whatnot. So all of these are really interesting problems to solve and are going to teach you some very interesting real-life concepts around concurrency and database design. And this is even the first project that we are going to cover in our Spring Boot batch as well. We are going to make something similar to Airbnb, and we are going to see all of these intricacies during the course. Now, no matter what, but you will definitely agree with me that payment systems are definitely one of the most notorious systems to actually build. You will see that a lot of companies do not actually go into making their own payment systems and instead rely on third-party payment gateways and other payment systems, specifically to those companies who have actually mastered and spent years of time to actually make sure that their payment gateway or payment solution is at par. So I believe the next good project to actually try out can be a good payment system related project, something like a payment wallet. That, let's say, there are multiple users who are actually trying to pay each other, how exactly the payments are going to actually work. Now, the best part about payment systems is that payment systems are going to actually teach you a lot of interesting things around this, how to scale up the system, what can be a good sharding strategy if, let's say, you are having a huge amount of scale, right? How you can have asset compliance implemented on your database layer, how exactly you are going to ensure that there is consistency in your projects, or I would say inside your database. Then let's say if you have a sharded database and then maybe let's say you have to do distributed transactions. How can you do distributed transactions? Are you going to use two-phase commits or are you going to use Saga? If you're using Saga pattern, then are you going to use orchestration-based Saga or choreography-based Saga? What are the different ways in which you can actually trace back all the transactions that has been done and whatnot? Payment systems are really complex and are very fun to learn, and that's going to be the second project that we are going to build in the cohort, which is going to be a payment wallet that is going to teach you all of these concepts around distributed transactions, Saga pattern, two-phase commit, orchestration based Saga, choreography based Saga, database sharding and whatnot. Do try it out. This is going to give you an immense amount of learning altogether. Now, before you actually deep dive into some really complex projects, I believe when you are actually learning something, it's great to have a simple project in hand that can teach you a vast majority of concepts. And I believe something like an e-commerce platform or let's say maybe a social media platform is a great way to go ahead for that, right? If you see in social media platforms and let's say these kind of e-commerce platform, there is a good scope of schema designs and database design. If you are actually working on, let's say, e-commerce, now in e-commerce there is going to be some section of data that is going to be read a lot of times. For example, people are going to actually look at the product catalogs a lot more times when you compare to actually buying those orders. So there is definitely a discrepancy between high number of reads, right, and lower number of writes. How you can actually scale your database according to that? Can you actually make your system in a way that read queries, if let's say your system is read heavy, then read heavy systems or the read heavy queries are actually handled by a different set of databases and the write queries are handled by a different set of databases? How maybe you can leverage something like a CQRS pattern here, right? So these are some very interesting concepts that you can actually try to learn. Apart from that, if let's say you are building something like a social media, there are interesting problems to solve. For example, how you can have a paginated way to actually give the feed of the corresponding user instead of just fetching all the post of the feed. How you can make the feed slightly a bit more personalized, that let's say only the people the person is actually following, when they post something new, then only that is going to be added to their feed. How all of these interesting things are going to happen. This is a very interesting project to build. So I believe anybody can pick any one of these two, and they are going to teach you a lot of things around the fundamentals of Spring Boot as well. Like if you're learning Spring Boot and you want to get more hands-on around the annotations and the overall aspect oriented programming aspect of I would say Spring Boot, these two projects are a no-brainer and you should definitely try it out. Now I believe the next project that is going to be one of the highlights of our Spring Boot cohort would be to build something like a Uber-like service where you have a lot of drivers, the location of the drivers are updating, and let's say you have a user who is trying to book a cab. Then the user is going to, let's say, raise a request and you are going to find all the nearby drivers. Now how you can actually find the nearby drivers who are actually present at different locations. Here the concepts of something like quad trees come into the picture. You can try to understand what is quad tree, how you can build quad trees. Then corresponding to quad trees, there is another solution called as geohashing. How geohashing is compared to quad trees, what are the solutions, what are the existing solutions that implement something like geohashing, what other companies, let's say something like Uber actually does and whatnot. This is going to be kind of like a flagship project that we are also going to make in our cohort. And let's say if you want to yourself try making these kind of location based system, it's going to be definitely one hell of a ride. Do try it out. This is going to give you some great learning, and this project specifically is a great way to actually not just learn the system design aspect of it, but actually implement the practicals of any system design. Do try it out. Now, apart from all of these, I believe there are a lot more different type of projects that you can make. For example, something like a hospital management app, or let's say you want to make a monitoring dashboard, how you can actually have a monitoring dashboard altogether. You can maybe also try to pick some very specific feature of any application. Let's say you want to have a service in Spring Boot that only tries to ensure that you are able to have the live view count of the users and whatnot. There are so many different projects that you can actually make with Spring Boot. I believe what you should try to do is try to look at real life applications, see what are some interesting features in those applications and try to implement them in Spring Boot. Trust me, it's going to be a definitely great amount of learning that you can actually do. And specifically inside our cohort as well, we are going to try to ensure that all of the projects that we are going to do in the cohort, we take a good deep dive in those projects, understand all of the concepts as in depth as possible, and also I'm going to make sure that we give you guys also enough room to implement features on your own, to explore things on your own, so that you don't feel like you are just following I would say a video lecture and just following a live lecture and just copy pasting the code. You will be having enough time to actually implement features on your own and solve some really interesting problems as well. So do check out the link of the Spring Boot backend cohort in the description section below. And I believe this overall video was helpful. You got some really interesting project ideas that you can actually try to build with Spring Boot. That being said, let's wrap this particular video here, and we are going to meet soon in the next set of videos where we are going to continue our discussion on a lot of things around tech and career. Till then, take care, bye-bye. I'm Sanket Singh, signing off.